Foie. It's episode foie.
Foie.
Episode foie now.
Episode foie. Foie.
Foie. Foie. Episode foie. 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 Foie.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode foie of the two starving artists. We're not just starving artists. We are two of them. Exactly two starving artists podcast. My name is Gabe Chandler, and I'm here as usual with the amazing, wonderful
Brooke Butterworth.
Brooke, according to
Brooke.
All right, Brooke, because it's all lowercase.
It's Brooke instead of Brooke. Brooke. It's Brooke. And then Gabe C.
And Gabe C. We're here with episode 4 of the Two Starving Artists podcast. I've said that already, but you know what? We're going to say it again because it's that kind of day. We're recording this on a Friday. It's chill.
Oh, yeah.
It's chill.
Break it down.
You know what's not chill is the fact that we, for this episode, have our first episode, a sponsor. Today, guys, we have our very first sponsor. Brooke, why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
Yeah, so it's my new fitness company. So I've been nicknaming it Project X for the past maybe a year now. And it's finally here. It's finally brought its face from the nothingness that was before it existed, before anyone else knew it existed. It's my online nerdy fitness coaching company.
What's it called?
Mainstay. It's mainstayfitness.com.
Yes.
Yep. I do online fitness coaching. I make it superhero themed or DND themed, custom fitness classes, help people reach their goals. I can do one-on-one online coaching, one-on-one online coaching, one-on-one. Yep.
One-on-one.
So I wrote a little sponsor ad for us to do, which I thought would be fun. It'd be like our first like scripted thing.
First little
which
ad
is cool.
read.
Yeah, so excited. So we'll start it now. Gabe starts. So Gabe, action.
Whether you're a beginner just wanting to be your healthiest self, need to gain muscle, lose fat mass, or an actor who needs to be ready for whatever a film may require, or a model who needs to be ready for any photo shoot, Mainstay Fitness can help with nationally certified plans and coaching. Wow,
you sound like a real commercial, Gabe.
I mean, that's what I want to do professionally.
You sound like a radio ad. So Mainstay Fitness offers fun exercise that is science-based. No longer are we doing boring pre-made programs or the fads and trends that lead to zero results. We offer superhero or D&D themed programs, pre-made or custom-made according to your fitness goals. To do this, we assess muscular imbalances and can make your workout as themed or traditional as you desire.
And for those who want that extra eye on their form, a friendly, encouraging, and motivating coach, or extra accountability to get moving, online one-on-one training is also available. The beauty of your story is that it's going to continue to evolve, and mainstayfitness.com is here to help.
Yeah, if you want creative, fun, and science-based approach to exercise that will help you get results efficiently, then head on over to mainstayfitness.com.
And just by listening to this podcast, here's some fun, exciting news for our Two Starving Artists podcast fam. You can get 15% off on-site purchases by using the code Two Starving Artists. All one word, all caps.
Yeah, that's right. Two Starving Artists for 15% off any purchase on mainstayfitness.com.
And then it says in all caps, live longer, feel better, be happier.
Indeed.
Mainstayfitness.com.
Mainstayfitness.com.
And then the rest is just gibberish that we're typing back and forth to each other on the Google Doc from two separate computers because we are dorks like that.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was editing it. And then he's like all of a sudden just showing up because we share the Google Doc. And then it was just saying things. And it wasn't a robot trying to take over the world. It was just Gabe writing to me.
I promise.
What? It wasn't you?
No, I promise I'm not a robot trying to take over the world.
Okay, we'll see. We'll have to see about that.
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
But yeah, mainstayfitness.com. Go ahead and check it out. Brooke's been working really, really hard on this. I've been watching her progress on the website. I've seen some of the programs that she's put together for friends of ours based around Marvel and DC comics characters, based on a couple of our friends' Dungeons and Dragons characters. It's a lot
Yeah.
of it makes working out a lot of fun, but it's also challenging you to growth.
Thank
And
you, Gabe.
so yeah, so that's my unscripted honest opinion. She's worked really hard and I'm really proud of her.
This
And
isn't
I'm glad
scripted,
that
guys. I
this is
swear.
finally.
This is not
Brooke
part of the
is
script.
just an amazing person and she's so cool and like
Enter laugh here. I
special.
mean, yeah, so the last one I did that was custom and not pre-made was for our friend, our mutual friend actually, who wanted to be wanted to have one for her actual D&D character that she's going to do with us in a few weeks, and it was elf rogue ranger themed, which is really, really cool. So I had to design the whole program based off of movements that would make sense for the character as well as for her own body, because I did a muscular assessment. So I love programming and it's really fun. And I mean, it's really cool because if you think about it, what better way, for example, for someone who wanted to play a boxer in a film who gets this part, what better way than to have a coach who actually knows how to help you become a boxer and actually do things that would yield to the aesthetic or what you need. I love it. I'm a geek. And it's nerdy and oh my goodness, I just can't. You stop me, Gabe. Stop me.
Hey, stop. Actually, no, don't stop because you're talking about something you're passionate about and that's cool.
Thanks. My favorite one is the Batman program. I thought it would be the Wonder Woman program, but my favorite is the Batman program because it's just so funny. I just can't, man. But yeah,
I'm still waiting for you to make one centered around my rabbit cleric.
Oh, I didn't know. You want me to make one?
Yeah, make one for Faunus. Make one.
Okay.
I play. So Brooke and I play in a D&D game together with a couple other friends of ours. Shout out to Zach, Alex, and Hannah. We are together. The Short Stacks is our group name. And in it, I play this little 2.5 foot tall rabbit person.
Yes.
Who talks with this kind of accent. I don't know what accent it is exactly, but it's his, and it's a lot of fun. And his name is Faunus, and it's a delight.
Yeah.
And so
it's real fun.
You know what? That's our topic for today. We're talking about D&D. We're going to talk about
heck yeah
our characters a little bit. Give
why you should play D&D
and why you should play Dungeons and Dragons, not just because it's that game from the 80s that was featured on Stranger Things, but because it is an awesome experience. It's an awesome social experience.
It really is. It really brings people together. And whether you're an artist or an actor, I mean, there is always a reason to play. It brings people together. That's one of the things I honestly wish I would have done with my dad before he passed, is playing D&D. It really, even growing up, he would have been so good and fun to play with, and he would have enjoyed it, I think.
I just, from the time that I've spent with your dad, I wholeheartedly agree. But yeah, no, it's a fantastic social experiment almost in some ways, because it allows you, so the way that, like, first off, the one of the wonderful things about it as a game is that it can cater to almost anyone in their playing style. So I have played or seen people play in styles where it's much more almost like one of those old, like, the Nancy Drew point and click mystery adventure games, where it's a little bit more like that, where they're very detached. It's a little bit more studious. They're taking kind of a little bit more reserved approach to the world, but they're still invested, and they're still.
What do you mean? Like a Tomb Raider game, like the old Tomb Raider games?
Kind of a little bit, but it's, where it's just like, it's almost like, those really, yeah, those old computer games where everything was like text based, and you're having to like just execute actions, as opposed to something more like, like Critical Role, or like Acquisitions Incorporated, or the Adventure Zone, these things where you have, I guess for lack of a better term now, professional actors who are getting into these characters, and it's like high fantasy improv,
Mm-hmm.
with a high level of storytelling and execution, and there's more and more production values involved, especially if you're streaming. So like I know I personally, my method, I'm an actor. As a theater student, I got my start with D&D when I was in college, and I used it as a way to really help sharpen my improv skills and my
Wait,
acting skills.
do you mean that you started playing D&D for the first time while in college? Is that what you
Uh-huh.
meant?
Uh-huh.
Okay. It sounded like you started acting by playing D&D, which some
No, no,
people
no, no.
do.
And yeah, some people do, and like I've seen some people do that, and that's one of the coolest things about it. Like I ran a game when I was in when so I got started being a dungeon master, or game master, if you might prefer, the storyteller who kind of builds the world and populates it with characters and little story hooks that the players then come in and get to interact with by asking questions of the dungeon master, and rolling dice and doing all these kinds of things, to interact with this world that the DM has created.
Yeah.
And so like I couldn't find any games that were looking for another player, so I thought, screw it, I'm gonna watch a whole bunch of Critical Role and figure out how Matt Mercer does his things. And it
Yeah.
turns out that his style really lined up with how I like to do things. His Matthew Mercer, for as wonderful and amazing as he is, his style isn't for everyone.
Explain who that is for some people in the audience who may not know who Matt Mercer is, the incredible, legendary Matt Mercer.
Absolutely. Matthew Mercer is a voice actor. He's a professional voice actor, who has done all sorts of video games and a lot of anime, so English dubbing of anime. He was, I think, one thing that a lot of people might know him for, he was the English dub voice for Captain Levi in Attack on Titan. And so
Oh, I
he
forgot about that one. That's
yeah,
a good one.
yeah, so he and actually all the members of the cast of Critical Role are kind of legends in their own right for
Oh, they
how
are.
much voice acting work that they've done. And that was a big part of the success of the show. This show, Critical Role, is a live streamed game of Dungeons and Dragons, where this group of professional voice actors, who are all, best friends in real life, decided that they wanted to get together, play a game of Dungeons and Dragons. Another friend of theirs a couple of years later invited them to bring their game to a live stream on twitch.tv. And they started adding production to it. It started off very rough. It was literally like people had set up cameras in their living room, and they were
Oh,
just
yeah. The craziest thing is like they talked about filming it for so long. And Gabe knows more about this than I do, but this is what's crazy to me as a newcomer to Critical Role the past 2 years. I've just been listening to it. But they've been doing it for how long, Gabe?
they've been doing it for close to around
7.
7 years
Oh,
now.
yeah, yeah. They just had their anniversary. But anyway, so the coolest thing to me is I rewatched it knowing how big they got. And the first few streams, they're like, oh, wow, we got 1,000 people watching our stream. And then I find out that even though now people watch it, they were like, who's gonna watch us play D&D? Who's gonna watch that? And then they did it. And so one of the things I kind of took away from their story is if you're an actor, if you're an artist, they all have acting backgrounds, but if you're an artist or pretty much anyone, it can bring people together, and it's now it's going to be one of the ways that stories make it into mainstream media, because one of the things they did is they made it into an animated show, and that animated show has been very successful. And until now, any story that was inspired by D&D usually wasn't really paid attention to by
Mm-hmm.
producers. They were like, oh, they were like, no, 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 that's dumb. But now people are starting to pay attention. So the more fantasy stories, one of the things like Witcher was, I think, inspired by a D&D world. Phineas and Ferb. Why did I say that? No, no. Adventure Time.
Phineas and Ferb.
Phineas and Ferb, you know. Anyway, Adventure Time was actually inspired by a D&D game. The world was inspired by a D&D game. So those became shows in their own right. However, an entire story created by D&D that is now known from Critical Role's creating it. It's known as Vox Machina, and it's available on Amazon Prime, and it is fantastic. And now, because of that, stories will be will be taking shape from D&D games. I think a lot more. Yeah, and I think actors should start playing. I think it is so incredible for practicing your improv skills, staying in character, being able to create characters and stay in it. You can do it online. You can do it in person. In person, I think, would be easier. We've been playing online, though.
Yeah, cool. It helps to have things like programs like Discord, and it helps to have, Zoom. It helps to have video calls like this that can bring people together across the country. And so this group that Brooke and I play in, Brooke and I live in two very different parts of the greater what's it?
Atmantis. Praying mantis. We live in a giant mantis, everybody. The world is flat and it's shaped like a praying mantis.
You heard it here, folks. Heard it first. But no, so we live in two very different parts of the greater Atlanta metro area, is what I was trying to say. And so it would be, especially at rush hour, a real struggle for us to get together every week to play this game. And then the other three members, Hannah and Zach, they live up in Lexington, Kentucky, which is 5.5, 6 hour drive away. And then I'm not even sure where Alex is right now. If he's been traveling the country and able to join in via his phone hotspot. And so because of these things
out west,
we're able to, and because of these things, we are able to continue to play this game that has brought us together and grow our friendship, which has been really, really cool. Because like Hannah and Zach, even though they both were at my alma mater at the same time as me, I didn't know them super well going to school.
And I love Hannah. I never really knew Zach that well. I went to their wedding. I was on Hannah's bridesmaids, and I lost touch with her for just, off and on throughout the years because we didn't have anything to do. That's one of the cool things about D&D too. I've heard of families playing together, and that's how they relate to one another. And then I think I sent this to you. Did you watch the video I sent you?
Which one? You sent me
you
sent me a bunch of TikToks today.
No, it's the YouTube one that I sent to our D&D group. The guy who played a D&D game for 40 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that guy, he said in the video, it was a Wired mini documentary, and you can find it on YouTube. It's fascinating, this guy. Oh my God. But he said there's no reason to stay friends with someone after you get older and if you guys move away from each other because you don't have a tie to them. And this is one of those things that if someone joins my game, they're welcome to play with me until I die. That's what he said. It's just incredible. And his daughter plays with him too. And I don't know. I just think it's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that if you create and if you maintain a strong friendship with somebody, then distance doesn't matter. Like distance won't affect it as much.
Oh no, for sure. He was more so talking about people you don't have much in common with and who you grew up with.
That makes sense.
You have different
differences.
Interests. I was like, what did I just say?
You have different differences. That's
different
deep.
differentials.
Super deep.
Yeah. Super deep. We're going deep tonight. Deep into the
It's Friday,
crazy thing. Another crazy thing. All the people I thought are just one of the best speakers usually have had some sort of stutter in the past. Matt Mercer is one of those people. And if you listen to him, he worked so hard to overcome it. And now He's one of the best storytellers of our generation.
He and playing this game with his closest friends over the years, really helped him do that. And so the short, in addition to helping with that kind of thing, or bringing people together, it really, another thing that it can do, it's right up there with reading a lot of books when you were younger in helping you with empathy, because it'll put you, like, and when it comes to your imagination mentally, it'll put you into situations in these fantasy stories, or whatever, it could be science fiction, it could be steampunk, it can be modern day, whatever you want to make it can be, but it'll put you into situations, thinking as a character or thinking as yourself, that you would never encounter in real life. And so you're able to kind of self-reflect, if you might make a certain decision in character, you might be I guess in Brooke's case, you might be Brooke, but your character is a 7-foot tall dragon man named Rolando.
Hi, I'm Rolando. Nice to
And
meet you.
Rolando is wonderful and we love him. You
Ah,
might
yes,
be
it's wonderful to be me.
she might make a decision as Rolando in game, and then after the game is over, really kind of sit back and think about how she as a person, she as Brooke, would then interact with that same, I might make a different decision than Rolando did. And so you're able to learn about yourself. You're able to, kind of figure some things out by putting yourself, at least from an imagination standpoint, into scenarios and situations, socially and otherwise, that you might never get to encounter in real life. And then so in those situations, you're able to learn more about who you are as a person. And I think that's really cool.
Oh yeah, there's tons of character arcs that your character could do, and then you just look into yourself and you're like, huh, you're right, because the juxtaposition, the way you think about what you would do, what your character would do, and then the dynamics. I've learned a lot about human interaction and good versus evil by listening to Critical Role the past 2 years. And that's one of the things that I've learned too, is there was that the 80s scare and stuff about how D&D is evil. Oh, stay away from D&D. Oh, but it truly is at the heart of it. It is working as a team to defeat evil, and with your friends. I would hope you're playing with friends. And it's a beautiful thing. And even if you're not an actor, like as an actor, you're a character. It's great. It's basically an acting class. It's an acting exercise through and through. But even if you're not an actor, it works out the parts of your brains that solves problems. It really fuels, like I said before, that creativity muscle. And it really is a muscle, because unless you're living in your imagination at all, like let's say you're Enneagram 5 and you're all about facts, you're all about logic, and you just go to your job every day, you do at your job, you still need to have that creative side. Any entrepreneur, any successful businessman, things like that, we all need to have a creative side. And it's super helpful for everyday life. So even if you're not an actor, play D&D, even if just to bring out your inner child and work on that creative side of things, because it's problem solving. At the end of the day, creativity solves problems, and it helps success. It drives success. And D&D is a great tool for that.
Agreed. And like, in addition to the like, learning about yourself, just one example of that, like I was mentioning earlier, when I first started trying to play Dungeons and Dragons when I was still in college, none of the games that were happening at our alma mater were looking for a new player. And so I decided, like I said earlier, screw it, I'm just going to watch a whole bunch of Critical Role and learn how Dungeons and Dragons is played, which that sometimes works for people, sometimes it doesn't, because that style of play doesn't work for everyone, and that's fine.
That's what
D&D
I
can
did to
compensate
learn.
for that. So I learned how to play. I got the books, and then I just invited a few guys from my dorm hall, and like my roommate and a few other dudes, to play in a little exploratory game, and that turned into a 2-year long campaign, continuous like play every single week through this like of school. Essentially, we took a break for summer and winter and that kind of thing,
How
Christmas
dare.
break.
Yeah.
But it was me, it was, as the DM, it was Bryce and Jamie were 2 players, and I'm convinced that that game is one of the main reasons why they kind of started getting together, and they're married
You're
now.
a little matchmaker.
Kind of like
And
there's
at
a couple
the same
other
time, no, go ahead.
oh, there's a couple other people who definitely helped out with that, but I credit my game as being the first impetus of them, getting
I
together.
would say that I helped out with that as well, since I was one of those people. Were my roommates, not Bryce, because obviously.
Yeah, Bryce was my roommate.
No, I did not have a dude roommate. But yeah, I would say I helped as well. But yes, I equate to you. You also helped.
Yep.
But, you get closer to people when you play with them,
It's true, because you're able to see, when you're sharing this, when you're in this shared imagination experience where everybody is, experiencing these things in your mind. You all have your own, vision of what it looks like, but you're still sharing in that story with other people around you, and it can be very intimate. It can be a very close thing. And so this game, with Bryce, Jamie, 2 other guys from our hall, and then eventually my brother Nate. Nate asked if for like one of our session nights fell on his birthday that year. And so he had come along to watch a few times. And so everybody in the group had gotten to know him a little bit. And he asked if he could join as a guest character for that game. The group okayed it, and he joined up that night, and he ended up being with us as a character for the rest of the campaign as it ran.
Nice.
But that night when he first joined up, we were playing it, actually, because it was my brother's birthday. My grandparents let us play at their house until the wee hours of the morning.
Whoa.
And so we're there. We had this big epic battle that took place over the course of the session, and like we're uncovering secrets about people's characters, and like Bryce's character is in
I'm your father. No,
this crisis event of like, I may go. He was playing this up. He was also playing a Dragonborn, and so he was this Dragonborn warrior, and he was unsure if he wanted to continue on because he might hurt the people who are close to him, and he's like, there's this really tense moment where he kind of went nuts a little bit. Yeah. He kind of went nuts a little bit. The character did in the game, because that's one very important thing that we to denote, is that when we're playing these games, we are very aware that we are just acting out as different characters. We're playing a part. We're not, I am this character and this character is me. It's
what?
Oh, so you're telling me that you've slipped into Rolando as a real person? No, we're not doing this.
Yeah, I have actually. Oh, it just comes out sometimes. All of a sudden, I'm a dragon.
But now, so we're having this crisis event, and then he's, Bryce in character is feeling this struggle of, do I want to continue on with this group? And then you have our bard, who was a sound engineer student who had never acted a day in his life. Like over here passionately pleading with him in character of why life is worth living to the fullest, breaking down in tears, like, begging him to stay with them and to continue on and keep going. And it's like, and it was all like improvised. It was all flowing in character. We were in this mode where all of us together were telling a story together,
Mhm.
and it was so pure and it was so raw and unfiltered, and it was just wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful, and it's something that we talk about to this day, even though we're not super close anymore.
I thought that I wouldn't care as much, because it is just a story and we are playing online, so it's and you're just sitting the whole time usually.
Hmm.
So I didn't think I'd care, and then I remember one night after we switched to, I think, this campaign, um, it could have been this campaign with Rolando. I don't know, there have been so many moments, which is why I'm having trouble trying to remember, but the stakes when the stakes are high, I just remember at one point thinking, "I care a lot about this world, and I've never seen it," you know? And it's a fantasy, but I actually really care, and, I know other people experience that with D&D too. It's like, "I never thought I'd care this much," but I really, really do. It affects the emotions somehow just after you play. I think one of our campaigns is it's been, like, a year now. So you're
Hmm.
in these characters' heads for, like, you know, every week.
Well, it's like you're acting. I treat it like you're acting in a TV show, and you have, because, like, while a movie, you might work on something for, you might be in that character for about a year if it's just a standalone film. um
Well,
but
I mean,
then,
without a script, of course.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
like you're with it's, once you're done with that, then you're effectively, if it's a standalone film that's not getting a sequel, then, once you're done playing that character, you're done playing that character. But like, for, for TV shows, for television, especially like longer running sitcoms, or even some of these longer running action shows, and dramas, you are in these characters' heads for a long time. And so it's a similar kind of a thing with a long form
It's similar,
Dungeons and
but
Dragons campaign.
yeah, but I would say D&D is even more in depth than that
Mm,
because the approaches are so different, and when especially if it's TV or film, I would venture to say that if you're in a long-running theater show, it's actually more in depth than TV or film.
mm,
Because TV and film, it's like you can get in the headspace on your own time, but not usually with your co-stars. Usually with co-stars, it's like they call action and you're in it for just that scene with the script, but then they call cut, and it's just action, cut, action, cut. With theater, you're rehearsing for at least a whole month for just the same thing, so to be in that character headspace with the same material for sometimes a year, sometimes more if you're on a long running Broadway show, for instance, or a show on Broadway that's, not a musical, uh, or you're in a Shakespeare show, like, you're just doing the same material, so you're in the character's headspace, but in a certain moment in time. So it's even more in depth. You get to know the character even more and more in depth, whereas D&D, there's no cut and start from TV and film. You're just in it, and you have to create the script, and you're just you have to be completely delved in to get to that place, and I honestly haven't, um been that in depth with our games just because there's different modes. I think with critical roles modes, I think that's the goal for me at least is to
mm.
be able to stay in character. With there's different ways of playing. I think our group in particular, we stop and start and talk out of character a lot. For
Mhm.
me, I would actually love to do less of that.
Hmm.
And otherwise it's like we did this film, the last film we did this year, for Acting United, and there was this really emotional scene, and we called action, and it was that one really hard moment, and sh I could just tell, like, "Oh, you're almost hitting it," because I wrote it in such a way that our lead actress would have to get to a very deep place in
Mm.
order to do that scene to its fullest potential. Like, we were getting by, she's fantastic, the actors are fantastic that we had, but I knew she could get deeper. So I leaned over to the director and I was like, it's fine and we could use it, but it's not hitting the place it could. So he was like, okay, well, what do you suggest? I'm like, as the producer, I was like, what? You're the director. You're the director. It's your vision. He's like, but I know I want you to be happy about the product. And I'm like, well, she's not hit the emotion yet as deeply as she could. She was hitting emotion. She was crying even. Like she was weeping. There was like a waterfall of tears out of this girl. But there was a deeper part that she could get to. So I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're not going to cut. We're just going to keep rolling. Have her go from the top of the scene to the end. Just give her time. Let her just restart when she needs to. And that she needed the other actresses' help too to stay in it. So they both stayed in it. And they really worked together as a team. And after 4 times of going through it without cutting, it was like magic. It was incredible. It wasn't just the tears anymore. It was the emotion behind it all that was the deepest part and exactly how I wanted it to be. And it was because we didn't keep cutting. And she told me that afterwards as well. She's like, thank you so much for doing that. It was just, I was coming out of it after cuts and we were keeping the room, you know, in the mood, you know. I was like, quiet on set. But it sometimes does take, you know, let's stay in character. Like you can see it in Critical Role's episodes, you know, when there was those deaths, they're all in it, you know. And it's harder online, but you know, if we can just stay in character and not cut, there could be a lot more magic. It's also hard to read the room and know who's going to talk next with online playing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was something similar that I did when it came to some scene work back in college. So I attended the Bluegrass Community and Technical College for a year to help try to finish up some of my gen eds.
Yeah, you did.
And I took a couple theater classes there, and I worked with this guy so one of my classes required some scene work, and I worked with this guy named Conway, and we were doing
Conway.
We did a scene from Death of a Salesman. I think it was Death of a Salesman, where it's that after the second son comes home, and the 2 brothers are like up in their room having a conversation with each other about how like everyone's convinced that the brother who had gone off to pursue, you know, his fortune elsewhere was successful and doing great, but he was having to come back essentially and tell his younger brother, no, I've failed, you know, everything has you know, gone to pot. I'm not who everyone thinks I am. And so we were doing this. We got assigned that scene, and we took, like, right before we were set to perform it at in class, I went over to his house one afternoon, and we spent the whole evening just running the scene top to bottom in different rooms of the house, doing different things. Like there was one, like he had a little bonfire pit in his backyard, and so we jumped into his car and did the scene in his car driving to the store to get some firewood. We quietly did the scene in the store buying the firewood. We got back to his house and did the scene again, building a bonfire, like working together to build a bonfire. And like that was one of those just pure acting experiences that I'm just going to hold on forever. I'm going to hold it with me forever. And so it's a similar kind of a thing with Dungeons and Dragons a little bit, where you find when you when you really invest in it, and when you really you get out of it what you put into it. You know, that's true with so many things. But when you really invest in it, and when you really get into it, and you care about your character, and you learn, I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I need a drink of water or something. That was so lovely. But
like the Kung Pao scene. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
I'm so sorry.
Like the Kung Pao scene. But when you get into it, and when you really get involved with not just your character but everyone else's character, and your goal is to help everyone else succeed. I mean, that's first off, that's what it's like in acting. That's what it's like on stage. That's what it's like. That's what it's like on set when everyone's clicking together, is when your goal is the success of the group. Then, and everyone's goal is the success of a group, then like you almost don't have to put in a lot of work yourself, because everyone else is helping you and you're helping everyone's invested in each other. And it's just wonderful. It's so wonderful.
It is. My favorite moments in D&D have been when I was helping other people. I don't remember exactly which session it was, but it was sometime a few months ago. We were playing as the Rolando and Faunus characters. Faunus. Sorry, my dog is whining if you hear him. Yes. Now be quiet. I love you. Yeah, I don't know what he needs.
Pay attention to me, mother.
But I remember my character didn't get into the battle until so my character is the tank because he's the paladin and he's supposed to heal people. So I'm supposed to take all the damage and heal people. And then I got to the battle late, and it had already happened once or twice because my character has such low initiative, which means for those who don't play D&D, you start your first turn later than other characters who are faster than you. And I remember you guys almost died, and I still had almost all my health left. It was a huge battle, and my character just fell to his knees, and I just felt devastated. And I remember ending that night too, and just feeling completely desolate. And I remember thinking, like, am I really upset about this game? Like, really? I was like, yeah, because my character, his underlining motivation, I think, is to stop River. He's in his toy box now. Oh, geez. He wants to carry the burden of his friends, you know? Not River, but my character. But I'm sure he would love to do that as well. I don't know. I hope not. You got your tennis ball, River? He's silly. Oh, yeah. SOS for tennis balls, Gabe. He needs more.
All right. I'll get some more.
Thank you. He chewed through it, man. I only have one that I played fish with him today. And then one went in a bush and I can't find it. And the rest he chewed. I found one under the couch and it was halved and I was like, oops.
More tennis balls
I can't.
Incoming.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful. But I just remember being kind of bewildered that I cared so much about the game we had just played. So, and our first characters that we played in this particular group that we've been doing for over a year, has it been almost 2 now? Oh, no, because
it's been a little over a year now.
No, it's almost been 2. In September.
Because we started playing with the other characters with Alex's game before we made the transition over to Zach's game.
October, I think, will be it'll be in October. By the way, I figured out that my mic wasn't facing the right way this whole time. In the middle of when you were speaking, I was like, oh.
I thought you sounded a little bit funny, but thought, oh, maybe she's just using a different input for Zoom.
No, Gabe, this has been a problem for a very long time. Like, it's been so bad. That's why my gain was so low for so long. I just figured out the problem, and so for the longest time I was doing this. So I was all the way up here.
Yeah,
and I was like, no. And then I tried here. Well, but I was over here. And it wasn't the same. And I was like, what the heck? But, right here is the sweet spot. Oh, my goodness.
Print out a little label that just says front.
No, I don't need to have a label. You want to know why? Because the freaking label is on this side with all the buttons. I can't, man. I just
Live
can't.
learning on the Two Starving Artists
I
podcast,
went
folks.
to film school. I took all of the classes with all of the equipment, and this is why I'm not a cinematographer, guys. I'm not a DP for this very reason. I am not a sound engineer for this. Anyway, but yeah, there was a point when we first started playing our with this D&D group with the first characters we did, and I kind of played mine as this person who had given up hope from losing loved ones. She just gave up, and I never told you this. Since we haven't.
So this was part of Sable.
Yeah, this is Sable. So I played her as someone who had decided to just wallow in the depression, and she just drinks all the time.
That I
and
remember.
then, yeah, but then my dad died. And I remember being like, I think I can handle this. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then I had to end up telling Alex, I'm like, I can't play this character anymore. Like I just can't, I can't do it. It's too hard because I don't want to do that. Like I can't put myself in that place right now because I don't want to be the type of person who turns to alcohol for all my problems and is depressed and succumbs to that. And even though I was depressed at the time, I never wanted to. I have this guy who's a voice actor that you've met, Gabe. Mm-hmm. He's in Acting United, the play reads too. His name's Miguel, and I call him my Asheville dad. And he told me, don't. What did he say? He said, don't give in to that feeling. Like basically just keep fighting, you know? And I couldn't do that with Sable. I couldn't do that with Sable because she had already given up.
And so that was something that you learned about your real self.
Mm-hmm. So that I wanted to mention that.
Yeah. That was something that by playing and thereby empathizing with a character who was already, you know, further down the path, essentially, or a path, you were able to look at yourself and say, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And so
but that's go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no. I was basically done.
Oh no, I don't want to be that. I don't want to interrupt you.
No, I mean, I was basically just able to say, like, you then were able to turn away from ever going down that path. And, you know, it came at the cost of, you know, not playing that character again. But you know what? You were able to determine, say, look, I'm not that kind. That's not the path that I want to follow.
Oh my goodness, though, Gabe. You know what's so funny?
What?
That I realized? I forgot that the main reason why I couldn't play her is because her backstory was that her dad died. Specifically. And then the craziest. Never mind. I'm not going to go down. I'm not going to talk about all the characters whose people died.
Another time.
Anyway, so that was interesting, and I learned a lot. Also, I think that that happens with acting too, and we could totally talk about boundaries some other day. But
that could be. That'll be. Let's let that be next week because that'll be.
Yeah, because not necessarily. What I mean by boundaries in this sense is how to find out what you can play and be in a place emotionally where you can get through, because in that place, I love throwing myself into difficult emotional situations. I love that. I love
as an actor.
Yeah. Well, that's also where I have failed in life too. Jeez. Acting has not helped me make the best decisions in life, but I learned, you know, and I learned what I will not do and what I am okay doing. But there's definitely emotional places I can't go right now. Well, now I can go probably to a lot of places I couldn't go when my dad first died, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But people who are just starting acting or have just done community theater, sometimes you don't think about that stuff until you get deeper into the craft. So we can talk about that soon or next week.
Sure, next week. Tune in next week for boundaries.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's get into it. Let's get in depth with our feelings.
With our
And
boundaries.
yeah, and honestly, I'm still learning like healthy boundaries in life too. So we can talk about that. We just talk about boundaries. And that way, you know, even if you're an artist or just a person who likes talking about creative things, we can talk about that. We can get on the down low together.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, D&D, you should play it. You should play
Really
it
should.
today, right now.
Look
Get out a
for
D20.
Get together with a group of people that you trust and that you would love to, explore whatever world with. You can do it in, a Lord of the Rings-esque high fantasy setting. You can do it in space. You can do that. The cool part is the game can be whatever you want to make it. And that was
Whatever.
one of the biggest draws for me. And I love that. But
it's a beautiful thing. Fight crime, fight goblins, fight mosquitoes, fight ants together. Maybe they're evil ants. I don't know. You can create it. Maybe they're mantises, praying mantises that you have to defeat with your bare hands. Maybe you're stuck inside one.
Praying mantises that are the world, the flat earth that we live on.
Yeah, the world is flat. The
and
end.
A praying mantis.
Remember that. That's our takeaway, folks. As always, I am your host, Mantis Shay. Cheyenne the Mantis.
How many different names are you going to have by the time we finish doing this podcast?
Susie Carpenter.
It's another one added to the list. Ladies and gentlemen.
Lori Lurie.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to the Two Starving Artists podcast. My name is Gabe Chandler.
My name is Sally. And have a great day, folks out there.
Have a great day.
And that's how the cookie crumbles. And I'm Brooke. Goodbye.